we are in Rendlesham Forest. Just waiting for it to get dark, do a bit of night walking.
The night after Christmas in 1980, a bright light dropped into the woods beside the U.S. Air Force Base at Woodbridge.
Weird. It appears to be maybe moving over this way. It's bright enough hotspot. Yeah. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. There's no doubt about it. This is weird.
Airmen rushed in, expecting a Soviet attack. Instead, they stepped into a scene that made no sense. The object on the ground looked nothing like a crash. It was intact, it was silent, and it glowed.
I was very skeptical. I found what had allegedly taken place hard to believe, and I was really going to debunk it, quite frankly. And as events unfolded, I became more and more concerned that there may be something to this. I kept telling myself that there had to be some type of an explanation for it, but I certainly couldn't find one, and even to this day, I can't explain what happened.
Within hours, men fell sick, security teams locked down the area, and the story spiraled far beyond military control.
The whole area just turned white. We all hit the ground. I would have been in the center. Ed would have been to my right. Jim would have been to my left.
This is the clearest UFO England has ever seen. And what followed changed everything. Rendlesham Forest, UFO. In the early hours of December 26, 1980, U.S. Air Force security personnel at RAF Woodbridge, part of the Twin Base complex including RAF Bentwaters, reported strange, multicolored lights descending into Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk, England. Amid Cold War tensions and heightened concern about nuclear-capable bases, the lights sparked anxiety. At first, the men thought a plane had crashed nearby. In response to the sighting, security officers, including Jim Penniston, John Burroughs, and another airman, ventured into the forest to investigate. What they encountered, they later revealed, defied earthly explanation. There was a silent, triangular craft, glowing with unusual lights, resting in a clearing. Penniston described the object as roughly 3 meters across the base, with no visible seams or rivets. Its surface was smooth and dark, like black glass. As he approached within mere meters, he said he felt the air around him become charged. Radio communications faltered. The atmosphere felt electrically alive. His hair was standing on end, and the hush of the night seemed to deepen. In that tense moment, Penniston reported seeing strange, hieroglyph-like symbols etched into the hull of the craft. Compelled by something he couldn't explain, he later claimed he experienced a sudden mental download. Immediately, a flow of binary code, ones and zeros, poured into his mind. He jotted these codes into his notebook, convinced there was meaning behind them, although the details would only emerge decades later. Penniston stood motionless, staring at the craft, while Burroughs and the others backed away, feeling shaken and alarmed. Then, without a sound or a trace of disturbance, the craft began to lift. Trees parted as it rose, and it moved silently through the forest.
I estimated it to be about 3 meters tall and about 3 meters wide at the base. No landing gear was apparent, but it seemed like she was on fixed legs. I moved a little closer. I walked around the craft, and finally, I walked right up to the craft. I noticed the fabric of the shell was more like a smooth, opaque black glass.
Right before their eyes, it vanished as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind only the memory of its presence. The entire encounter left Penniston deeply unsettled. The vividness of the lights, the unnatural silence, the charged air, and the uncanny beauty of the craft all etched themselves into his memory. He said he wasn't hysterical or hallucinating, but what he saw was real, tangible, and beyond any known human technology. After this happened, the military dove into investigations to find out more about what Penniston had found, and others tried to decode the binary code that stuck in his head. Aftermath of the sighting. In the days after December 1980, when U.S. Air Force personnel reported strange lights and a possible craft near RAF Woodbridge, a small group led by Charles Halt returned to the supposed landing site to take measurements and document the scene. Their findings included 3 shallow depressions in the forest floor, arranged roughly in a triangle, broken branches and indentations on nearby trees, and what they described as elevated radiation readings in the depressions and at the base of a nearby tree.
Yes, return to center. We found a small blast, what looks like a blasted or scrubbed up area here. We got very positive readings. Let's see, is that here the center? Yes, it is. This is what we would assume would be the dead center.
On the evening of the second night, the team recorded additional unusual lights and atmospheric phenomena using a cassette recorder. This recording, known as the Halt tape, remains one of the central pieces of documentary evidence. Over the years, some witnesses have claimed long-term health issues traceable to the encounter. John Burrow and other individuals suffered from different heart problems, eye damage, and other ailments they said were because of radiation or electromagnetic exposure. When you look at these claims and the aura of secrecy surrounding their service records and medical files, there are suspicions of a cover-up. One of the shocking aspects of this UFO sighting that changed everything was when Penniston revealed that immediately after touching the craft, he experienced a mental download of binary code, which he compulsively wrote down. When this was given to translators, they realized that it contained a message about the exploration of humanity, and coordinates pointing to ancient, sacred, or mysterious global sites, such as the Pyramids of Giza, the Nazca Lines, and a location in the Atlantic sometimes linked with the mythic island High Brazil. This revelation turned the incident from a strange military encounter into a bizarre metaphysical and temporal mystery, and many suspected that this was from an advanced future intelligence. Yet, that very binary code claim has become one of the major flashpoints for skepticism. Critics point out that Penniston's original reports filed immediately after the incident didn't mention touching any craft. He only mentioned this later, raising serious questions about its reliability and whether memory, suggestions, or embellishments played a role. When authorities reviewed the case, the official response was underwhelming. The Ministry of Defense eventually stated that, after considering the available data, the sightings posed no defense significance. Released files from around 2001 consist mostly of public inquiries and internal correspondence. There is no in-depth analysis or further official investigation documented. The few physical traces, like the depressions, tree damage, and elevated radiation, have been contested. Some investigators suggest the indentations could have been animal diggings or erosion. The tree marks may be natural or caused by forestry work, and the radiation readings recorded were very low, roughly in the range of background radiation. Skeptics have also tried to explain the lights and perceived craft. One of the explanations points to the nearby Orford Ness Lighthouse. Its rotating beam would have flashed every few seconds from certain vantage points, matching descriptions in eyewitness accounts. Others say that they could have just been seeing the bright stars in the sky. Combined with atmospheric distortion, the observers' expectations could account for some of the reported hovering lights. Still, it's too much to say that they actually saw stars or lights when there is evidence of this being authentic, with a real spaceship, multiple witnesses, sicknesses afterwards, and the strange codes. About 2 decades after that happened, there was another shocking UFO incident that happened in the United Kingdom, and experts are still trying to find out what really happened. Howden Moore UFO Incident. The Howden Moore UFO incident of March 24, 1997, remains one of the most controversial and perplexing mysteries in British UFO lore. That night, residents across northern England witnessed strange lights and odd airborne objects over the moors near Sheffield. This event quickly escalated into a major search operation by police, rescue teams, and even the military. Calls flooded in around 10 p.m., reporting a loud explosion, sonic booms, bright flashes over the moorland, and the possibility of a plane crash. The reaction was swift and extensive. There were helicopters, mountain rescue volunteers, and police dog units combing the remote areas through the night. But despite a concerted search, they never found any wreckage, debris, or sign of a crash. After that happened, tales circulated of sightings that also happened in widely separated towns. One witness, using the pseudonym Emma Maidenhead, described a vast triangular object, hundreds of feet across, flying low over rooftops with brilliant pink and blue lights, and a humming sound that was similar to electric power lines. Others claimed to have seen what looked like helicopters or rescue aircraft shadowing the lights over the moor, suggesting that something shocking had definitely occurred. A major UFO researcher, Max Burns, immersed himself in the case, gathering witness testimony and public records. He argued for a dramatic explanation, saying that there was probably a large triangular craft, possibly extraterrestrial, which was intercepted by jets from RAF Coningsby, which resulted in a confrontation, sonic booms, air bursts, and the downing of a jet. Burns also claimed that a dark-skinned man, drenched in fuel and seeking a lift near a reservoir, may have been one of the downed jet crew. He claims that the body and the craft were secretly recovered by authorities, and that would explain why no wreckage was found. But official sources continue to deny any crash or mystery craft in the area. Looking at the radar logs from that night, there was no unusual blip or unidentified object. The sonic events that were recorded that night were also reviewed by the British Geological Survey, which found signals consistent with atmospheric phenomena, seismic fluctuations, or natural atmospheric disturbances, but nothing that can be traced to UFO activity. The Howden Moore incident remains unresolved, and the verdict is closed. There's no wreckage, bodies, conclusive radar trace, or evidence of a crash site. But England has many other strange and shocking UFO sightings, like the one that happened in the Falkirk Triangle. Falkirk Triangle sightings. The Falkirk Triangle refers to a region in central Scotland, roughly bounded by Bonnybridge, Stirling, and parts of Fife, that since the early 1990s has garnered a reputation as perhaps the most active UFO hotspot in the UK. Residents and visitors alike report shocking and interesting sightings, like glowing orbs, flashes of light, silent cigar-shaped craft, triangular objects hovering low in the sky, and other strange aerial phenomena that defy easy classification. The pattern of sightings has been persistent. One of the earliest well-documented claims occurred in 1992, when a local businessman, on a drive from Falkirk to Bonnybridge, described a star-shaped light that hovered in the road's path before accelerating away silently at incredible speed. On another occasion, a family walking near Bonnybridge reported a blue, football-sized light that hovered before a door-like opening revealed something within, followed by a howl and a rapid retreat. Over the years, there have been more and more reports. These include sightings of balls of fire streaking across the sky, cigar-shaped crafts, smooth black triangular or saucer-like objects moving without noise, and even alleged landings on golf courses or open fields. The center of this phenomenon is often identified as Bonnybridge, a village that has become known globally for its UFO activity, with some accounts even revealing 300 sightings a year. Local interest in these UFOs exploded in the mid-1990s. Investigators started logging sightings, residents kept vigil, and even media outlets visited in drones. One local councillor wrote to the Prime Minister asking for a formal investigation. Skeptics have offered alternative explanations, especially since the area is close to multiple commercial air traffic corridors serving nearby airports, and so some sightings might correspond to conventional aircraft, satellites, or bright stars. Others say it might be atmospheric phenomena, optical illusions created by the region's topography, or the effect of reflexive light against hills and lochs. Meanwhile, in another region in England, there were many other UFO sightings that left many shocked. Dudley Dorito craft. The Dudley Dorito refers to a series of reported sightings of a peculiar triangular UFO over the West Midlands region of England, especially over the area known as the Black Country from 2007 to the 2010s and beyond. Witnesses consistently described a large, black, triangle-shaped craft that moved silently across the night sky. What stood out were its peculiar lights, often placed at the three corners of the triangle, sometimes white or red, forming a shape that looks like a giant crisp, hence the nickname. Multiple witnesses and even families over different towns, including Dudley, Tipton, Hale Sowen, Wolverhampton, and nearby areas, claimed to have observed the craft. One of the sightings involved a black triangle with white lights at each point flying low, banking silently, and then disappearing over the horizon, over the Clent Hills. Even more recently, in November 2025, they found a large black rectangular or triangular object with lights in the corners flying over Maryhill Shopping Centre in Brierley Hill, with no related plane traffic on flight tracking apps. Some observers compared the craft to a stealth-style military aircraft, a suggestion that's fueled by its silent flight and large size. Others proposed more mundane explanations, such as advanced drones, atmospheric phenomena, or optical illusions, but these don't account for the repeated reports over many years. Over time, a handful of video recordings emerged purporting to show the Dudley Dorito in flight. One such clip, allegedly filmed over woodland in Yorkshire in 2012, shows a triangular object drifting in daylight behind tree branches. But you have to admit that the footage is ambiguous and insufficient as definitive proof. In the 1970s, again, England saw another series of UFOs that invited widespread attention in Coventry: Port Talbot aircrafts. Port Talbot in South Wales also has a reputation for UFO sightings and mysterious lights, many of which defy easy explanation. Throughout the decades, residents of Port Talbot have described a range of abnormal skyward events. One of the striking cases comes from 1998, when a local family claimed to see a series of spiral shapes moving in a circular motion above their neighborhood. It seemed like these shapes belonged to an invisible vessel, and only the energy beneath revealed itself, swirling in the dark before it instantly disappeared. Other reports are more recent. Some witnesses say that they've seen silent, glowing craft hovering over the sea or coastline before shooting off at high speed, sometimes low enough to cause alarm. One person interviewed in a photo book documenting Port Talbot's UFO lore revealed something shocking. He recounted a night in the mid-1990s when a strange aircraft hovered almost directly overhead before vanishing in an instant. It's hard to dismiss these sightings as mere misidentification, but skeptics have pointed out that it could be atmospheric effects, illusions over the sea, or unusual lights cast by the nearby steelworks company, whose flares and industrial glow can distort perception and cast eerie lights across the sky and town. But it's hard to feel disbelief when you consider the fact that some celebrities also spotted the UFOs. Michael Sheen, who grew up in the town, has publicly spoken about witnessing unexplained lights in the sky during his youth. He described how a formation of lights emerged over the hills, drifted over the ocean, and then simply vanished. This was a haunting memory that stuck with him through adulthood. Still, there's no conclusive proof of extraterrestrial activity. But these UFOs weren't only spotted in the 1900s. Even in 2020, residents of Cornwall were shocked when they spotted glowing orbs. Cornwall 2020. Glowing orbs. The glowing orb sightings over Cornwall captured attention in 2020 when video surfaced showing a bright light darting rapidly across the night sky above Hale Beach, then shooting straight upward and vanishing into the skies. It was recorded by a webcam viewer who was watching the sunset, triggering renewed speculation about UFO activity off Cornwall's coasts. Eyewitnesses described the orb as a glowing sphere hovering above the sea before it suddenly accelerated at a high speed, seemingly defying conventional physics or drone-like motion. The sighting was known for its abrupt vertical ascent and the apparent absence of noise, exhaust, or any visible propulsion, fascinating UFO enthusiasts. That year also saw a spike in reports in local police forces in Cornwall and Devon, marking the highest number in 6 years. The surge doesn't directly prove any particular event, but it suggests a heightened public attentiveness to unexplained lights. Local groups studying aerial phenomena in Cornwall point to the Hale Beach video, among other cases in the region, like the reports of silent, hovering lights and unidentifiable shapes over beaches and seafront towns. If you think glowing orbs are weird, England has also spotted something stranger: a UFO releasing strange vapor as it hovered above. Smoking UFO over Bath in 2020. In April 2020, a widely shared video captured what a witness described as a smoking UFO appearing to fall over the skies near Bath in southwest England. The clip, recorded by local resident Luke Craddock, showed an object trailing a thick vapor plume as it descended from the sky. At first, the vapor was initially white, then darkened as the object went closer to the ground level. The unusual sight sparked debate, and some suspected that the object might be a stricken aircraft. The event triggered reactions across social media and local news after a friend of the filmer claimed that they both saw the phenomenon at the same time. The strange part was the mysterious descent and the dramatic smoke trail, especially as the object seemed to lose altitude rather than travel in a normal flight path, causing some observers to wonder whether this was more than a typical airplane contrail. But some researchers and skeptics offered a more boring explanation. They said the smoke was actually from a high-altitude aircraft, seen under unusual lighting conditions, perhaps near sunset, which could cast shadows on the trail and distort its appearance. Even if the video attracted a lot of attention, there was no official evidence to show that this was a UFO, but also no evidence that it was also a human-made craft. The clearest-looking UFO in England has emerged, and it changed what many scientists and ufologists knew about the sky. Do you think the Rendlesham Forest UFO really landed, or was it just a hoax? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. So, thanks for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one.